The tension between Earth and Thalos escalated rapidly. Despite the efforts of myself and like-minded individuals, Earth's leaders proceeded with their aggressive stance. They demanded unrestricted access to Iridian technology, justifying it as necessary for Earth's survival. The Iridians, who had once viewed us as potential partners, were now wary and reluctant. Negotiations turned cold, and diplomatic visits became infrequent. Lyra, with whom I had formed a close bond, expressed her disappointment. "We hoped for friends, Alex, but it seems we have found only consumers," she said during one of our strained conversations. As Earth pushed harder, the situation deteriorated. A group of Earth's representatives, acting against official orders but tacitly supported by certain factions, attempted to steal Iridian technology. The mission ended in disaster, resulting in a diplomatic crisis. The Iridians, feeling betrayed, cut off most communications with Earth. I watched in horror as the dream of a peaceful interstellar relationship crumbled. The news was filled with propaganda, painting the Iridians as uncooperative and secretive. Public opinion shifted, and the voices calling for ethical diplomacy were drowned out by cries for assertive action. Within the secret facility, morale was at an all-time low. Many of my colleagues, who had once shared my excitement and optimism, were now either disillusioned or swept up in the fervor of Earth's newfound assertiveness. I felt isolated, my efforts seeming increasingly futile. Despite this, I couldn't give up. I continued to advocate for reconciliation and understanding, but my pleas fell on deaf ears. The dream of learning and growing together with the Iridians was slipping away. Then came the news that Earth was planning a large-scale mission to Thalos, officially to negotiate, but rumors suggested it was to exert pressure or even force to gain access to Iridian technology. I was horrified. This was not just a diplomatic error, it was a moral catastrophe. In a desperate attempt, I reached out to Lyra and the Iridian leaders, warning them of Earth's intentions. I hoped that by forewarning them, I could prevent a potential disaster. Lyra's response was somber. "We had hoped to avoid this, Alex. Your people are not ready for the gifts we have to offer." The chapter ended with Earth's fleet departing for Thalos, a journey that symbolized not exploration and friendship, but domination and greed. I, Alex, stood at the facility, watching the ships disappear into the vastness of space, feeling a profound sense of failure. The consequences of this mission would shape the future of both our worlds, and I feared what that future might hold. The mission to Thalos was a turning point, but not as Earth had intended. Upon arrival, Earth's delegation was met with a unified and firm stance from the Iridians. They refused to bow to pressure or threats. The situation, tense and precarious, threatened to escalate into an interstellar conflict. Back on Earth, the news of the standoff caused a global uproar. The reality of what our leaders had initiated began to sink in. Protests erupted worldwide, calling for peace and condemning the aggressive tactics. Amidst this turmoil, a faction within Earth's leadership, who had been silent so far, began to speak up, advocating for a diplomatic solution. I was approached by this group, who had been following my efforts. They sought my help to open a dialogue with the Iridians, to try and salvage the situation. Despite my reservations and the risk of being seen as a traitor by some, I knew this might be our last chance to avert disaster. With a small team, I embarked on a clandestine mission to Thalos. The journey was tense, filled with uncertainty. Upon arrival, I was relieved to find that the Iridians, though deeply disappointed with Earth, were still open to dialogue. Lyra and other Iridian leaders agreed to meet with us. The discussions were difficult, with a lot of distrust and hurt to overcome. We acknowledged Earth's mistakes and the arrogance of our previous approaches. Gradually, the talks began to yield positive results. Meanwhile, on Earth, the public outcry against the aggressive policies grew stronger. Governments were forced to reevaluate their stance. The tide of opinion was turning, and it was becoming clear that the majority of Earth's citizens desired peace and cooperation, not domination. Back on Thalos, our efforts began to bear fruit. We reached an agreement with the Iridians, one based on mutual respect and understanding. The Iridians agreed to share some of their knowledge, but with safeguards to ensure it was used responsibly. The return to Earth was triumphant. The mission that had started as an attempt at redemption had sparked a global movement towards a more ethical approach to interstellar relations. Earth's leaders, influenced by public opinion and the successful dialogue on Thalos, agreed to the new terms of engagement. As the chapter closed, I, Alex, reflected on the journey. From the excitement of discovery to the despair of conflict, and finally to a cautious hope for the future. The relationship with the Iridians was not just about technological gain. It was a lesson in humility, in the value of understanding and respecting others, and in the power of unity in the face of adversity. The path ahead was still uncertain, but it was now illuminated with a light of hope and the promise of a better tomorrow. The resolution of the crisis with Thalos marked a new era for Earth. The global movement that had started as a plea for peace had evolved into a powerful force for change. People around the world were now advocating for responsible stewardship of our planet and respectful engagement with extraterrestrial civilizations. As a key figure in the negotiations, I, Alex, found myself at the forefront of this new world. My experiences on Thalos and the lessons learned had transformed me. No longer just a software engineer, I had become a symbol of hope and a voice for ethical exploration. The agreement with the Iridians led to a slow but steady exchange of knowledge and culture. The Iridians shared their environmental technologies, but with strict guidelines to ensure they were used sustainably. Earth began to see significant improvements in its ecological challenges, thanks to these new technologies. More importantly, the relationship with the Iridians fostered a global consciousness about the importance of unity and cooperation. Nations that had once been rivals on Earth started working together to implement the Iridian technologies responsibly. This cooperation extended beyond environmental issues, leading to a more peaceful and collaborative world. I often communicated with Lyra and other Iridian friends, sharing updates and continuing our mutual learning journey. These exchanges were not just about technology, but about understanding different perspectives and building a foundation of trust and friendship. In recognition of the need for ethical guidelines in interstellar relations, Earth's leaders, influenced by public opinion and the lessons from the Thalos incident, established a new international body. This organization was dedicated to overseeing Earth's extraterrestrial engagements, ensuring they were conducted with respect, transparency, and for the mutual benefit of all involved. As I looked back on the journey, from discovering the signal in my apartment to standing as a mediator between worlds, I realized how much had changed. We had faced our darker impulses and learned the value of empathy and respect. The future was no longer about exploiting what was beyond our planet, but about learning and growing together. The story closed with me, Alex, gazing up at the stars from a hilltop. The stars, once distant and mysterious, now felt closer, filled with possibilities of friendship and discovery. The night sky was a canvas of hope, a reminder that even in our darkest moments, the light of understanding and cooperation can lead us to a new dawn,